Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk to you guys today specifically about departmentalization. I feel like I have had so many comments and I've just been seeing a lot of people talking on Facebook and people on Instagram about their schools wanting to departmentalize. So I wanted to answer some questions, give you some ideas of what it would be like, and then offer some suggestions for what you could do if your school is talking about departmentalizing for the upcoming school year. So let's first talk about my experience with departmentalization. So when I first started teaching, I taught kindergarten for 4 years at a school, so I was completely inclusion with my class, and I made the jump to move from Alabama all the way to Pennsylvania. So I made that big jump and I got a job. My job ended up being 4th grade ELA teacher. So I not only transitioned from grades, but I also had to transition into me only teaching 2 subjects. So I teach ELA, which is just reading and writing grammar. That's pretty much what my day is like. And to be completely honest, like at the very beginning of the year, I had a really hard time with the transition. I had a hard time with the transition of the age. I had a hard time not being able to teach other subjects. I almost felt like I was in a rut, like I was constantly saying the same things over and over all day long. I was constantly seeing those kids hate reading and writing, because a lot of the times reading and writing is the struggle for a lot of the kids. And I felt like I was that struggle for them. Like I was just constantly, were in a bad mood with me. And it was just really hard, and I got really down with it. And I wanted to teach more subjects, and I wanted to see other things, and I love science and I love math, and I wasn't seeing that anymore. And so when I made this transition, that was probably one of the biggest and hardest things for me. And time has gone by, and now I am about as happy as can be. I love my grade, I love my job, I love everything that I do, and I am in a totally different place than what I was when I first started this job. So if you are feeling like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this, just know that a lot of the times it's going to be like you're a first-year teacher all over again. And I didn't understand that when I first made this big transition, but you're gonna probably have those, I'm gonna go, you know, I'm starting off with a high because you're excited about the new year. We always get excited about the new year. And then towards November, December, you're starting to go down because you're feeling the stress. But now, like during this time in our little roller coaster, I'm going back up and I'm feeling this weight lifted off of me, because I feel like I am really enjoying what it is that I'm doing, because I figured everything out for the most part. I feel like I finally have my class running the way I want it to run. I finally have figured out what I'm doing as a teacher with ELA. So it's been way different than what I have had at the very beginning. So looking past that, I wasn't able to do all subjects time, which I still miss it. And I'm not gonna lie, like I really do miss having more subjects to be able to teach and doing more with it. But we've also worked around a lot of that, which I will get into later. But let's talk about some advantages, because we want to think about what are some of the really good benefits and the positives that are going to come out of this. So we'll look at 3 different perspectives. Let's think about the perspective of me as the teacher. So one thing that I will say, that it is a lot easier to plan. I'm not having to plan a ton of different subjects. I have to plan for, you know, 2 subjects. And to be honest, when I'm planning for those 2 subjects, it is very easy. I feel like I don't have a ton of lessons, a ton of work that I'm having to take home every night or on the weekend. It's a lot easier for me to focus my mind on 2 subjects, and then those 2 subjects fit just so nicely together that I'm not spending countless hours at home trying to do extra planning for all of these different things. The second thing is that I feel like I have more time. I have more time to focus in on something that I really want to focus in on, because I do just teach that 1 or 2 subjects throughout the entire day, whereas before I was like, well, now I have to do math, now I have to go to this, now we have to do science, we have to do social studies. I was being pulled a million different directions, where now I'm focused in on one single subject at a time, like one subject, so reading and writing. So what about our kids? How is this helping our kids when they're having multiple teachers? And there are those little things that do happen where you feel like you have the mom and the dad and they're trying to go to one to not to the other. And that's something that you would have to kind of build from the very beginning. But it's so nice having that other adult there to always kind of back you up, to always make those decisions, to always have those conversations with them, and to show them how you work as a team. And I feel that that is really, really important with kids. They need to understand and they need to see what is it like when 2 adults have to work together, so that they have the proper modeling of what it should be like when 2 kids work together. What are those conversations that you should be having? They understand that I don't overstep. We take turns on things, that we have to talk about things. And these are conversations that we are always having. So they are seeing us as role models of how you would work in a collaboration environment, which is beneficial and it is so powerful for them. Now, what about for parents? Is there that confusion? Do parents not like having 2 teachers? And once again, this is something that you having a partner teacher and having this team, you would have to set up a lot of those similar routines and have to come to a collaboration and discuss, you know, how are we going to best communicate with parents? But I feel like the best thing about having a partner teacher is never having to have those conversations with parents alone. You're not having conversations for conferences alone. You're not making those phone calls alone. You are constantly having somebody there to kind of back you up in situations where, 1, you either feel awkward, 2, you are unsure of the decision that you are about to make, and you have this team of people that are there to back you up, because they know that student individually, they know those parents individually, they know where they are academically, and you can have those conversations in that team to really help those kids and help those parents along the way too. So it is extremely powerful, not only with those kids but also with their parents as well. When you're thinking of it from a school perspective, once again, it builds that collaboration, which I feel like is very important. So people are collaborating together, but you're also having to take the weight and the burden off of so many teachers of having to feel like they are teaching everything all together. Like they're having to fit all of this stuff in one day, and how are we going to do that? We don't have the time, we don't have the support, because this is a lot of things that we hear from teachers constantly, from all over, that we don't have enough time, we don't have enough support, we don't have extra hands. It's hard. This is giving you that opportunity to have those extra hands. This is giving you that opportunity to have that time to be able to really work with those kids. And for those of you who are in testing and you have those kids who do testing during, those ages, this also helps, because it takes that burden off of you of being the sole person responsible for teaching that child. You are not the only person responsible. I'm not responsible for math. I'm not responsible for science. I'm responsible for reading and writing. And even then, I have interventionists. I have other things that are coming in for some of my students that also helps me. So that responsibility gets taken off of you as a teacher, and it allows them to share the wealth, almost like you're spreading the responsibility of those students and how they are achieving with a team of people versus having it all on one individual person, which can be a huge burden, because at the end of the year, I know a lot of us as teachers, we stop and we ask ourselves, did I do well with my kids? Did I teach my kids everything that they needed? Did I prepare them for first grade? Now instead, I'm like, what did we do together? How did we do this? So you're working at it as a team, and you're coming full force again as a team, united fronts, to get these kids to succeed later on, and to make sure that they have everything that they need to proceed to the next grade. So All of those things are absolutely wonderful things when it comes to considering if your school is departmentalizing. So if you're thinking, oh no, I don't want to do this, I don't know how I feel about it, I promise you, it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to have a team of people to be able to help you with kids. It takes a village, no joke, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to teach a kid. So in thinking about schools and in thinking about how I work with my partner teacher, consider this too, because there are some schools that have them a little bit different. The way that I am set up with my partner teacher is that I have reading and writing and grammar. My partner teacher does content and she does math. That's how we have it set up. So it's just me and her. I have seen other schools, and actually my son is at a school right now where he has 3 people on his team. So he has his homeroom teacher who teaches reading and content, or science, I think. Then he has his reading teacher, and then he also has a math teacher. So he has 3 teachers. And again, I think that third in there was to help split up that ELA, so you're not the sole responsibility of reading and writing. I have also seen ideas out there as far as having like a bunch of kids in one room. I've had it to where I've seen, with 2 kindergarten classrooms together of, 30, 40 something kids, and there's 2 teachers in there working to do all subjects, everything all at once. I think a lot of Montessoris as well have like the multi-age classrooms where they have, 2 or 3 different grade levels all put together in one classroom, and you have a couple of teachers in there to teach them the content throughout the day. So there is a wide range of things and opportunities or approaches that you could do with this. But the most typical that a lot of schools are going to right now is having that ELA or math content, or having the 3 where you have writing and science together, reading and then math as well. So those are the 2 different options that I have seen the most of. So the biggest thing with this, I think, is the ability to be able to fit their needs, is to really be able to look at our schedules and change things so that we're fitting everybody's needs. And we've tried things where we've had 1 a.m. class, 1 p.m. class, and we switch those classes. Now ours is a little bit more fluid, and our kids kind of just go in between us. And again, this is a lot of training that happens before we actually kind of set them free. But it allows us to meet their individual needs. It allows us to be able to move them to where they need to be and be able to teach them on their very specific level, versus us teaching the whole class, everybody at the same time. I'm constantly in small groups. So I think the biggest question that I have now is, what does my day look like? How is my schedule fit with all of this? So here's kind of the layout of my day. At 8 o'clock is my actual start for the day. So from 8 o'clock to 8:30, we have collaborations and meetings. So my school runs on a 6-day cycle, and out of those 6 days, I have 2 days where I actually get to spend that time in my classroom, but on the other days, I'm actually in different types of meetings and collaborations that they have us going throughout the week. At 8:40, students start to come into the classroom, and this is the time where kids are just unpacking, they're checking their learner targets, they're looking at the morning message, they're getting their things out. So it's just their arrival. 9 o'clock is when the announcements will come on. So announcements come on at 9 o'clock. We listen to the announcements, I take attendance, and then I will do all of the administration work that I have to get completed so that I can send off any paperwork to the office. 9:15 is when I usually start rounding up my kids. So 9:15, we will line up to get ready to go to my partner's classroom, which is where we have our morning meeting. So from 9:15 to 9:35, we will have morning meeting, which is a 4-step process where the kids are doing some type of a greeting, they're sharing, they're doing an activity, and then we're also looking at the morning message together. Once morning meeting is finished, that's typically around 9:40 or so, I will take some of the kids back into my classroom. And from 9:40 to 11:20, I am constantly in small groups. So I am in small groups, or I am working on individual conferences with students. I'm helping students with any type of projects that they're working on. So this is that time when I am just going through my groups. From 11:20 to 11:30, my kids have something called first recess. And this is a recess where I actually have to take them outside and I watch them during this time. So it's about 10 minutes or so. And then at 11:30, the playground assistants blow their whistle and all of the kids will line up and they will take them into lunch. So this is kind of my lunch break slash I'm going to try to get some things done, hopefully time. And then from 11:30 to 11:50, they have their lunch time, which I get to stay in my classroom for my lunch. From 11:50 to 12:10 is their second recess. The playground assistants will take them out for this time, and I do not have to watch them, which gives me my entire 40 minutes for my lunch break. Once 12:10 hits, I go outside, I pick them up, and we have something called peanut butter and jelly time. So we've split our class up into one group and the other group. So before we had this schedule, we had an AM group and a PM. So we just call them peanut butter and then jelly. This is where I will teach writing and my partner will teach either science or social studies. They will get one or the other on that day. And on Fridays, we all are in a classroom together and we are all doing STEM. So that's why we have our peanut butter and jelly time on Fridays, because we are all smushed together. At 12:50 to 1:30, we have specials, which again, we are on a 6-day cycle. So it rotates between library, music, art, and PE. From 1:30 to 2 o'clock, we are doing our read aloud time. And this is where both classes will come back into my classroom and I will read aloud a book and we will also practice on some of those skills. So we'll have conversations about our book as well. At 2 o'clock, my partner takes a group out and they go back into her room. And so from 2 to 3:20, we have small groups once again with conferences. I try to have about a 30-ish minute time at the very end of the day to where I am helping students with passion projects. I'm helping them with math projects. So I'm doing a little bit more of that. Let's sit down and let's work on projects, let's brainstorm, and that pretty much ends my day. So at about 3:20, I will start having everyone clean up. My partner's homeroom will leave to go back. I will have some of my kids come back into my room. They pack up and they all go back to the carpet where we will have our closing circle for the afternoon. And then our dismissal is around 3:40-ish or so. So that's right about how my day looks. And I will say that during the times that when we do have those small groups and conferences, my students go in and out of our classrooms depending on what activities that they're working on for their targets. There are no rotations in my room. We give them a list of things that they have to have completed for the day, and they kind of move them around and do them as they see fit. That's kind of my day, like in general, and how it flows. Like I said, I don't plan a lot. I don't do a lot of planning with it. I kind of map out my standards for the year. I map out how would I actually approach these standards to make sure I'm teaching them. And then I kind of flow through those. And if kids need extra time with other things, I will pull from other resources and add some of those lessons in there. But for the most part, the kids do a really great job with what I've presented them with and what I have already pre-planned. So I don't do a lot of planning outside of the house except for grading. That's really about it. So if you're in that school that is considering that departmentalization, go up, ask questions, think about some of the possibilities, think about the room setups and how are you going to be able to make sure that you're meeting those kids' needs. Also make sure that, you are open, you're going to this open-minded and that you are thinking of how it could really benefit those kids, and it really can benefit kids in the long run. Don't go into it with a negative mindset. If you do, then you're not going to succeed with this. I'm rambling. So if your school is ending up with departmentalization, I hope you are going into it open-minded and that you are approaching this with a positive mindset, because with that, it is truly going to make it successful if you do approach this positively. And think of some questions that you could ask and approach this in then don't be afraid to ask those questions, and don't be afraid to make some comments and share ideas, because this is the only way that it's going to work, is being able to share ideas and ask those questions and kind of hammer out details and talk with one another. That is what makes this so successful, is truly having that true collaboration, because I feel like this is true collaboration, instead of, you know, it just being, you know, you have your K team and your first grade team. What departmentalization does is it really and truly does create collaboration and teams in order to help kids. So fail forward, everyone. I hope that you were able to get some really great information from this. Please leave a comment down below. If I was not able to answer any of your questions, I would be happy to answer some of those questions. So leave a comment down below, ask a question, because that's the only way that we will all learn from each other, is through those questions. So I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye. I would fight and scream if they try to take my partner's teacher away from me.